at Georgetown, the second part of my interview with former Vice President Al Gore, who spoke to me about what we need to do to avoid the catastrophic consequences of climate change. You've been very focused in the work that you've done on not letting people sort of succumb to doom and gloom, and you've been very focused on optimism. And I've watched as you've gone through charts about adoption of alternative energy, and it's also the case that global emissions have doubled in the last 30 years. They keep going up. What do you do with that? Like there's a part of critique that says it's all broken, it's all going in the wrong way, we're all deluding ourselves. Something truly disruptive and radical has to happen.
Yeah, well, I believe that. But how do you get from here to there? There's no doubt, first of all, that when the future of humanity is at risk, despair is simply another form of denial. It's also true that anyone offering a Pollyanna-ish version of false hope is also engaging in an exotic form of denial. The truth is this: we have suffered losses, some of which regrettably are unrecoverable. There are more losses yet to come that are now inevitable no matter what we do. That's the truth of our situation. But we still retain the ability, according to virtually every scientist and expert in this field that I know, to avoid the truly catastrophic civilization-ending consequences that would occur were we not to act. So, being honest with ourselves about the damage that has been done has to be accompanied by an absolute character-based determination to say, hell yes, we're going to do our best, and we're going to get started as quickly as we can and do it as well as we can. And I don't know any other way to do it. I also believe that in the famous phrase of Rudy Dorn, the late economist at MIT, things take longer to happen than you think they will, but then they happen faster than you thought they could. And I'll give you a couple of statistics. Just 5 years ago, 1 year before the Paris Agreement, electricity from solar and wind was the cheapest source in only 1% of the world. Today, 5 years later, it's the cheapest source of electricity in 2/3 of the world. In another 5 years, that will be true virtually everywhere. In another 10 years, it is projected to be cheaper than electricity from existing, fully depreciated fossil fuel plants, some of which are already being shut down with useful life remaining because it's just cheaper to get the electricity from the sun and the wind, coupled with battery storage, which is also coming down in price. Now, it's definitely true that the optimism about that is based on new installations, but it's now beginning to shift over to the closing of existing fossil fuel plants. You can look at transportation, same story with electric vehicles. 16 countries have enacted policies requiring the legal phase out, making it illegal after a certain date to sell gasoline or diesel engines, requiring electric vehicles. Within 5 years, half the buses in the world are going to be electric. Now, is it happening fast enough? No. And this is not to speak to manufacturing and regenerative agriculture and sustainable forestry and all the things that have to be done. And yes, it's an externality that has to be priced, but also we have a whole system for measuring what's valuable to us that doesn't just exclude the polluting consequences of carbon dioxide, but excludes the value of everything that's not easily monetized and financialized. And we have to change that system as well.
Final question for you. Is there someone in the Democratic field that you feel best gets this problem, centers this problem, that you're the most confident? I'm not asking for an endorsement.
Oh, it sounded like that.
I'm asking.
You're just asking me to pick one and avoid the word endorsement if I wish.
I'm asking, look, I think if you take the problem seriously, and as seriously as certainly you do, and I think increasingly younger people do, that the next president of the United States, if if it's not this one,
yeah,
is basically going to have to wake up every morning with this the first thing they think about. There's just no way around that.
Yeah.
Is there someone in the field, or are there multiple people in the field that you feel confident that that's the case about? Well,
forgive me for really and truly avoiding singling out one candidate. I'm trying to not do that for a lot of reasons. But I'll tell you this: I am really impressed that virtually all of the candidates in this field have made the climate crisis a top priority. Some of them the top priority. So many of them have presented elaborate plans in sufficient detail that it would have been unthinkable just a few years ago. And I think that it's reshaping the political dialogue between the two parties. We talked about polling earlier. 67%, more than 2/3 of millennial Republican registered voters say, hey, this party has got to change on climate. Multiple chapters of the College Young Republicans have petitioned the RNC to change its climate policy and warned it that they're going to lose young voters if they do not. We're seeing a real sea change here. And the aphorism from Rudy Dorn that I mentioned earlier is now playing out in the political world as well. It took a long time without much change, but now I think things are changing. A kind of a dam is breaking, and people are changing swiftly.
Vice President Al Gore, it's a great pleasure. Thank you very much.
Always. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Absolutely.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.